Ladies and gentlemen, now is the moment. I will pass on the floor to our national coach of the Belgian Red Devils, Roberto Martinez, who will announce now the selection of the Belgian Red Devils for the Euro 2020 Championship. Coach, the floor is yours. Sorry. Kan er iemand even komen assisteren om deze knoop te warren? Voilà, oké. Thanks. Yes, coach, please.
Thank you, Stefan. The squad of the Red Devils for the Euros 2020 are Thibaut Courtois, Simon Mignolet, Matt Sells, Toby Alderweireld, Dedrick Boyata, Jason Denaya, Thomas Vermaelen, Jan Vertonghen, Timothy Castagne, Nasser Chadli, Yannick Carrasco, Kevin De Bruyne, Leander Den Donker, Torgan Hazard, Thomas Meunier, Dennis Pratt, Yuri Tillemans, Hans Van Aken, Axel Witsel, Michy Batshuayi, Christian Benteke, Jeremy Doku, Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Dries Mertens, Leandro Trossard, and this will conclude the 26 players squad for the Euros 2020. With this, Stefan, we need to add a standby list, which will be a team selected with Thomas Kaminski, Brandon Mekele, Zinho van Heusden, Jordan Lukaku, Thomas Fouquet, Sambi Lokonga, Brian Heinen, Alexis Salemakers, Jari Veskaren, Charles de Ketelare, and Adnan Januzaj. So we got the full selection of 26 players for the Euros 2020, plus the standby team in the present time.
Okay, thanks. Was it a difficult choice, those 26? How difficult was it?
Well, it's been a difficult choice because in the last 12 months, the pool talent is increased and we got more players than 26. I think at this present time, we welcome in the good news of the development of Axel Witsel's rehabilitation. And then from that point, there are players that unfortunately they missed out when they showed what they can bring into the team. But then we need to remember that we got a really intense period. We're going to be carry on in September with the qualifiers for the World Cup, the Nations League Final Four in October, and then it will be 16 months from now, there is the World Cup. So it's an important pool of talent, and the players that they are not in the squad, they've got a big future for the national team too.
And also that's why the standby list is quite extensive.
It's important, 11 players, to try to mirror a team position-wise in terms of the players that from now until the meeting up day is still some games to be played at domestic level, and in terms of possible injuries and possible changes, especially in this uncertain time that we all having with all the squads, we got 11 players that they will be serving as standby players.
Okay, thanks. Time now for the Q&A of the media. Voilà, et on commencera de nouveau avec Vincenzo Ciuro de Proximus. Vincenzo, à toi la parole.
Merci beaucoup. Hi, Coach.
Hi, Vincenzo.
First of all, We know that the Euro starts in less than a month. How thrilled are you to get started?
Well, extremely excited, especially when we know that these Euros should have been played 12 months ago. So I think it's an extra significance. It's a moment to be able to celebrate, to be able to get behind the team, and hopefully, with the crowds that we're going to see in this tournament, it will be a starting point for what the future lies ahead, and hopefully we can have it with a real enjoyment and good performances from the Red Devils.
We talked about that list quite a long time ago, you know, in Belgium. Everybody has his IDs, his names. I see your list, and I don't see Marwan Fellaini, for example. Can you explain us why?
Well, yes, we all know how special Marwan Fellaini is, but at the moment he's been away from the national team for 3 years, and probably delaying the Euros for an extra 12 months was a little bit a step too far. 3 years in international football is a long time, and you lose that continuity. The work that we've done, the partnerships that they've been developed is a big ask for a player that he hasn't been involved for such a long time to come in and allow him to be part of the team. So we will always forget what Marwan Fellaini gave us in 2018 and in all the history of the Red Devils. But at this moment of time, we need to give opportunities to players that they've been constantly working with the national team and allow them to take their time.
Just one more question about your goalkeepers. I don't see Koen Casteels. He had been part of the team since a long time ago, but he's not there. Why?
Koen is a medical decision. Koen Casteels will finish the season with his club, with Wolfsburg, but he needs surgery. And unfortunately, is a player that is going to miss through injury. It's not a technical decision at all. Koen Casteels was part of the squad, and we hope that he has a quick recovery and he can start the season in a great level.
Okay, thank you.
Ok, merci Vincenzo. Pierre Depré, RTBF, le prochain. Pierre.
Hi, coach.
Hi, Pierre.
About Axel Witsel, what do you expect from him? And if you were sure that he won't play at all, would you take him with you anyway?
Yes, in the situation of Axel, we need to be very clear. We don't expect anything. This is just a reward for what he's done for the national team and his career, and the good work that he's done in the last months is well ahead the time that we expected. We got real trust in our medical department, and now is a moment that we get through a decision time. But the real decision with Axel Witsel will be on the 11th of June, and we're going to try to get as much time as we can to make that final decision. And we need to allow Axel to have the time to carry on working, and at that point we'll see if he's fit or not. This moment is not the moment to make a decision on Axel Witsel. This is the decision on the 26 players that they are in the squad for the Euros, and that's why we got a standby list of players, just in case in the next few weeks there is any developments. But Axel deserves to be in the squad for what he's done, and the work that is done medically. We feel very confident that he could have a big role in the European Championships.
Okay. Second question, for the list of 26, did you wait the end of this weekend to the final point?
You always do. Yes, you always do. You need to take all the information, and that's what we always try to achieve. The more information we have, the better that we can get the decisions that they are needed for the team. And then in the same way, you look back and you try to build a little bit what each player is going to have the role and what each player is going to bring into the team, and then the demands that we're going to have. This is a very demanding group facing Russia and Denmark in their own grounds, and then Finland in St. Petersburg is a really demanding group, and we need to be ready. So any piece of information is essential, and you take it until the very last day.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Pete.
Okay, I will repeat that if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand digital, then you can ask your question. We don't see too many hands raised now, so please raise your hands on the digital way if you want to ask a question. Mario Cortegana from Spain, is the next one in line.
Hello, Stefan. Hello, Roberto. Mario Cortegana for Goal.com.
Hi, Mario.
Wanted to ask you about how are you seeing Eden? It seems like he wasn't at his best to be in the starting lineup at Stamford Bridge, and after this he's been in the bench. So I wanted to know what's your opinion, if you have talked with him these days, and also something about Thibaut Courtois. Thank you.
Yes, the situation with Eden Hazard, we've been really close and we know exactly where he is. I think the medical condition is the best moment that Eden had for a long, long time, and we're very pleased with that. I think the level of fitness is really satisfactory. And then from that point, we always look back on how important Eden Hazard is for the national team, is our captain, and the way that he performs in our environment is essential and is vital. So it's important that he finishes the season strongly with Real Madrid, and from here we're very much delighted that the last few weeks he had a real good medical level, and he looks a player that he can become just back to his very best in the next few weeks. In terms of Thibaut Courtois, it's been fantastic just to follow his consistent level that he's had in the last 2 seasons, to become the Zamora goalkeeper in La Liga last season, and now being so influential in every game that he's played for Real Madrid is fantastic news, and it shows what a great level he's going to bring to the national team, which is not a surprise for us.
Okay, Mario. Ludo van der Wallen is the next. Ludo van der Wallen, Nieuwsblad Sportwereld. Ludo. Is Ludo disappeared?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Roberto.
Good afternoon, Ludo.
A bit of a surprise in the 26 is perhaps Nasser Chadli. In which role do you see him?
Yes, Nasser Chadli is more the opportunity to play in both wing-backs roles, and as we know, Nasser, probably his prime position, he will be a left wing-back. He can play on the right wing-back, but I think is that opportunity of playing in the number 10 role. Nasser had a real good adaptation since the March camp. In March, he had a difficult moment physically. It was the first time that he was fully fit, and he was becoming match fit with us. Since then, the role that he had at his club in Başakşehir here has been really consistent. He's been playing a lot of minutes, and physically we feel that he's in the perfect condition. His experience at tournament football is important. I think what Nasser lived in the World Cup in Russia is what you need in international level when you go into a tournament. And as a whole, the contribution of Nasser, it will be very important in the Euros.
Okay, and then second question, you have only 5 defenders. Don't you think it's a bit less? Not enough?
The position
yellow
of
cards, Vermaelen perhaps injured?
Yeah, no. All the players are fully fit. The centre halves that they've been selected are fully fit. That's why we consider that having Leander Dendoncker is a player that he can play in that position, and having 6 centre halves is what we want. And from that point, we feel very comfortable with the positions. It's important as well to highlight that Brandon Mekele and Zinho van Heusden, they will be in the standby list, and that means they're going to be monitored from now until the day that we meet up in the camp. And it's great news to see Zinho working now for a long period of time, but already playing his first competitive minutes with Standard. So it'll be interesting in the next week or so how he develops. It's a long-term injury, but he's a very young player with an incredible leadership material that it could become available if it's needed. No doubts on the fitness of the players that we have in the selection. Happy with having 6 players, experienced players, players that we know what we can get in those centre-half positions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks
Pleasure.
Ludo. Volgende is Peter van den Bemt, Sportza. Peter.
Hello, Roberto. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a double question. Can you tell us why you narrowed it down straight away to 26? And what do you expect from the 11 players that are on the standby list?
Yes, I think the reason is because in the current situation, we need to be very peculiar and particular with the preparation, with the COVID protocols. And it's important that in such a demanding season, every player knows exactly where they are. As soon as they finish the domestic league, we need to use that time in a very good way in terms of knowing what the protocols will be at each individual player, depending on where they're going to be located. And from that position, everyone needs to start working in recovery and making sure that the bodies are in optimal condition when they arrive into the national team. It will be a big risk to have a big and general number of players in a group where is an uncertainty. I think we have enough uncertainty in the current times. The last thing we want is to add to that. So we want to narrow it to the 26 squad list. It's a little bit bigger than normal, which it gives you a better margin of maneuver. And then from there, the standby list is important. For us, it's essential that these players know that at any moment they could be called up, and then we can be prepared. So it is a clear way of preparing the players for the meeting up day. That's the reason, and I didn't feel that it was right to have uncertainty until we meet up for the tournament.
Oké, Peter. Volgende, le prochain, Christophe Franken, la dernière heure. Christophe.
Hi, Roberto. Two questions in one. So, when do you expect the player in Tubize? When do you expect Kevin De Bruyne after Champions League final? And so, like Peter said before, the 11 players, sorry, they could go to holidays, or they cannot go to holidays after the season.
Yes. Just to answer your first question, the day that we're going to meet in Tubize in the base camp is going to be the 31st of May. And from that point, we're going to be preparing the two friendlies that we have in Brussels. In the case of Kevin De Bruyne, is the only player that is involved in the Champions League final, and he will get exactly the same period of adaptation. He will be joining the squad on the 7th of June. So from that point, what's important is that every player that is in this selection is got considered into what's the individual need. Everyone needs, you call it a holiday, however the name is try to switch off from the demands of the domestic football and prepare that bridge into international football. So every player in the 26 squad will have that attention, and exactly the same for the 11 players that they are in the standby list. So from that point of view, every player will have exactly the perfect preparation to be able to enjoy time with the family and switch off from the domestic campaign before they can join or not to the international football.
Oké, Christophe. Dan gaan we naar de andere Christophe, Liberlo van het Belang van Limburg.
Hi, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Coach Brian Heijnen is in the standby list. Also, if I'm correct, he's the only player who hasn't been involved in the national team yet. So that's a bit of a surprise. Why did you took him in the standby list, please?
Yes, well, I think Brian is not a new name in the national team in terms of the development that he's had in the under-21s. As a player that we know very well, and I think the reason that he's in the standby list is because his outstanding level that he had in the last third of the competition. He was very much close to the March camp, but I think since March he's been a very, very consistent performer, and the answer is that he's deserved the called up now, and just to highlight his good level that he's had in this season, but how close he's been since his time in the under-21s with the Red Devils.
Thank you.
Okay, Christophe. Now we're crossing the channel to Mani Jasmi from BBC. Mani Jasmi from BBC, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Roberto.
Hi, Manny.
I'd like to ask you about Yannick Carrasco. He had a difficult 2 years in China, but it seemed to, in the bigger picture, improve him. and improve his commitment. What do you think? How do you think his experience of those 2 years in China have helped him?
Well, I think it's very clear to see in any player. We always speak about what he does on the pitch and the football skills that he brings into the team. We very rarely speak about the degree of maturity and how you develop as a human being outside the footballer. Yannick Carrasco had a really fast development as a footballer. He played 2 Champions League finals, he scored in one of them, and his career went really, really fast. And probably the time in China, I know that you mentioned that he had difficult 2 years. As it always happens, he had a really successful period, then 2 months when you feel that the time is up. I think what he became is a really conscious human being, and he developed immensely in that maturity level. And then when you've seen Yannick Carrasco coming back, you've seen the footballer, but then someone that he affects the team, that he can just bring the expectations, he can carry the pressure of having to win games to win La Liga. And I think that's what we've seen with Yannick. And sometimes we're very quick to almost to measure if a move of a player is going to be a success or not. I think sometimes the experience of going abroad, the experience of going to a different continent, the experience of becoming the main player of a new project, it makes you mature, and I think you become a more rounded footballer. And I think that's what we've seen with Yannick Carrasco. His year at Atletico Madrid has been extremely, extremely impressive.
Footballers often talk about learning more from their mistakes or their difficult times than from winning championships and the good times. Do you think that's the case with Carrasco? Do you think he's learned, I don't know, about himself, about life a bit more through some frustrating? I mean, he had some good stats in China, but by all accounts, he was quite frustrated as well. Do you think those experiences are what made him the rounded person that you're talking about?
Absolutely, but I think you mentioned footballers. I think you could extend that to human beings. We are a product of our experiences, and we are a product of what we can develop into what we feel. And footballers, we are not different. And I do feel that we got a real good example in Belgium. We got really young players that they leave their comfort zone very early. They speak different languages, and you can see how that's a big strength to become part of a team, to walk into a dressing room and be efficient and being part of an objective. But clearly, when you reach that maturity, it helps you to perform in a team sport. But I think saying that footballers need those experiences, I think we forget that human beings need those sort of adversity experiences.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manny. We go to Yves Telleman from La Dernière Heure. Yves Telleman.
Yeah. Yes, hi, coach. A question about
Good afternoon, Yves.
A few players with 2 nationalities, like Truffert and Struijk. Finally, you did not call them up. Was it their personal choice not to play for Belgium, or was it your choice because of their profiles or their performances?
I think there are two areas. One is that we always look to the long term, and we always look at players that they could be part of the talent pool of the national team, and that doesn't change. We got a few players with dual nationalities, and their roles in the national team could still be there for the future. I think we're talking now about the European Championships, that they are a tournament that we've been preparing now for 3 years. Normally, you don't get this sort of time, and I think it's very important for us to look into the preparation, to the 10 games that we played to qualify here, and then all the other competitions that they've been in that period between the big tournament in Russia and this one. So one thing is the now, and then the other aspect that we'll never forget and we need to carry on working is for the future, and players that we feel they could have a great future because of their profile and the way they are as footballers. So in that respect, we'll always carry on working in both angles.
Oké, dan zijn we, als ik het goed begrepen heb, klaar met de Q&A. Ik wacht nog een paar seconden. Mocht er zich toch nog iemand melden, wait for a few seconds more if someone should have another question. Otherwise, we will finish this Q&A. Okay, no one. That was the Q&A. for the Roberto Martinez press conference on the selection of the Red Devils. Thanks coaches en ook u allemaal hartelijk dank dat u deze persconferentie heeft bijgewoond. Merci d'avoir suivi cette conférence de presse. Thanks all for attending this media conference. From Monday, May 31, we will be back with live daily press conferences from the Proximus Basecamps Euro 2020 Media Village, to be followed on our platform and for the media on-site or via the provided Zoom links. We will send you the program later this week, probably today. And let's say until then, goodbye.